All right, guys, what is up? Welcome back to Educate, Empower, Evolve. The other day I posted and we requested some topics, and so we have a few that we are going to film today. We will be posting these videos separately, so you'll probably see them coming out over the next few weeks. But this first one we're going to talk about, we're going to focus primarily on reverse dieting and just how it's important. That was a big topic that came through. Because a lot of competitors in the Pacific Northwest, they're either just getting off their show or they're getting ready to come off a show in a few weeks, because our two biggest shows are happening very soon. So Kim, being a competitor coach, she has some athletes coming into their reverse, and so we can kind of touch on that, and then we can also touch on like our experiences as far as our reverses. Right. But if you're not familiar, do you want to define like what a reverse diet is?
Yeah, so reverse dieting right now, again, like Danielle said, a lot of people are just coming out of a show. So it's the first week post-show. This is normally the time when people will start to begin their reverse diet after having a little bit of a diet break. But it's basically coming out of your deficit, right? You're working your calories back in. You want to slowly incorporate more food. And the key term being slowly incorporate. You don't want to just pack on a bunch of extra food. Although, in my opinion, reverse dieting is harder than going into your prep, because now you don't have as much of a reason to stick to your plan as having like a hard deadline for the stage. You have more of an excuse or more of a reason to just a bite of this, a bite of that. And so mentally, I really do think it's harder to reverse. And 100%. I'll be the first to admit, I don't think I've ever nailed my reverse. And so that is a small personal goal of mine, to nail my reverse this year after the shows that I have planned. But yeah, so reverse dieting, it's slowly reincorporating calories back into your diet for multiple reasons, and we'll dive into those reasons right now. I'll talk a little bit about it, and Danielle will also throw in her 2 cents. But basically, the first few weeks after your show, after you've been dieting that hard for months, your body is in a super sensitive state. And so whatever you do, whether it's, eating in a surplus or even staying in a deficit, like anything you do, your body's going to be in a hypersensitive state. So you could potentially put on a bunch of fat, or you could potentially make a lot of progress in a shorter amount of time than what would normally be, at a rate during prep. Like how you would grow in the last 4 weeks on like a normal diet versus how you would potentially grow in 4 weeks post show is very, very different.
Yeah, and like she said, she's never nailed a reverse. I mean, I've had what now 4, and this is the first one I've actually like nailed to a T. So I don't want anyone to ever think like just because you mess up one day, like you fucked up a reverse and you're gonna get fat because of it. But it's just like anything. It's what you do consistently over time that's gonna make the most difference. So if you have one day where you go off macros, it doesn't mean like, oh, I fucked up my reverse, so I'm just going to quit reversing. Just get back on your plan, communicate with your coach. And like Kim said too, there's different ways to reverse. And like, yes, we want to slowly work up your food, but if you're having problems adhering to the plan, like tell your coach, because sometimes it's going to be more beneficial to increase your food a little faster than it is to keep your food so low and have you having
for the sake of
binging episodes.
Right. For the sake of compliancy, you want to make sure that your plan is realistic, right? Post show, it really is hard to just stick to another prep plan. But also one thing too, for me, a mindset shift that I've had is, after my prep this year, instead of thinking, okay, I'm done competing, the stage is done for the season, prep is over, I want to think about it like, okay, I have 6 to 8 more weeks of prep. And that'll keep myself a little bit more accountable instead of just being so food focused after the show. And that's really one thing that you have to be careful with, is try not to be so food focused, because that really does happen after the show. Think about food, and then you just eat your days away, and before you know it, you're 30 pounds over stage weight, which could be take a huge toll on your mental health. Yeah.
And there are different ways, like we reverse, I mean, it's the same idea, but like, for example, Kim follows a meal plan and I follow macros. So there are different ways. And again, it's just communicating with your coach on like what way is possibly gonna work best for you. Because obviously in prep, like you want to take out the like as many variables as you can. So like meal plans are very helpful. And though I do macros, I do make a meal plan for myself week to week.
Yeah. Like you would never know that she's on a macro plan from looking at how and what she eats, because she still does eat the same food day to day.
Yeah. And that just comes with experience. Again, like I've done my days of fitting shit into my macros and thinking that it's still okay because it fits my macros. But it does allow me in the off season to have a little bit more flexibility. So that is really nice for me because I don't feel as deprived. Like I feel like I can still fit things in and make it work. And then like she said, I think this year it's just been a totally different mentality going into my reverse than it was in the past. And that just comes with maturity and experience in the sport as well. Like and sometimes I think you have to fall on your face to like learn. Like you have to fail to learn sometimes.
Unless you've failed your post-show reverse, you don't know how much it sucks to rebound.
Yeah.
You don't realize the importance of it. And so I mean, it would be nice if I didn't rebound after the show, but at the same time, like I can speak from experience and really stress this to my own competitors, how important it is to nail your reverse. And so that's something. And the good thing about us not having like a huge team, like this past weekend, I only had 2 girls that did that show, but I'm able to give them 100% of my attention. Like, and I put this in my post too, like how well they do, I really do take it personal. And so because I know how hard it is on your mindset to rebound after a show, like I really want to make sure that they nail it. And so it's something that I've been thinking about all week for them, hoping that, they're hitting their plan. So
yeah, and that's kind of something too, like we know that there may be people watching this that have different coaches, and like if you don't have a plan from your coach for post show, you should not be with that coach. Like their job
disappear once your show's
their job
over.
isn't over once the stage is gone.
Right.
Like like you were saying, if it's not as important as prep, if not more important, because that is where you can make such a big swing as far as like, are we going to go towards the muscle gain or are we going to go towards,
especially if you want longevity in the sport and you want to improve. Another big thing too that I just thought of as you were saying that is, if you want your next prep, if you want to have a healthy amount of food in your next prep, that's another reason to reverse, because it's very different if you're able to slowly incorporate more food, give your body the opportunity to adapt to that amount of food, and so that next time when you start your prep, your food's up here, and then as you're cutting, you could slowly take it down, versus if your food is already here because you didn't reverse properly, like you're really setting yourself up for a really hard next season.
Yeah,
and so that's one of the main reasons why, for me personally, I want to make sure that I reverse properly, is because I don't want to be at poverty level food with a bunch of cardio for my next prep.
And that's another point of the reverse diet too. Like it is about food, but it's also about like you shouldn't still be doing 2 hours of cardio into your off season.
Right.
Like your cardio should be coming down as your food's going up. It's it's exactly what it says. It's a reverse diet, because in dieting, your cardio is going up, your food's coming down. In a reverse diet, it's going the other way. And it's basically a way of bringing down that cortisol too. And it's going to allow you to focus on your training and really put the intensity back into your training, because you don't feel like you have to save some of your energy for cardio. You're fueled. Like there's no reason for you not to be able to like hit PRs, hit it with intensity. And if you're still feeling run down, that's, again, you need to communicate with your coach, because maybe there's something internally going on. Maybe your body still isn't in a surplus, because everybody's maintenance is different. Everybody's surplus is different. No matter if you're my size, Kim's size, our maintenance is probably different. Like,
totally. And so like talking about our own reverses, right?
Yeah.
So for you, after your show, because I want to talk a little bit about too, like the weight's going to come back after you're done competing.
Oh, yeah.
That's normal. Whether you nail your reverse or not,
you have to put
back on weight. Keeping that stage look, it's it's not going to happen. So for you, you're someone that nailed your reverse. How did that translate into your body weight and your physique and holding your shape?
So it's actually interesting. So right after, so about 2.5 weeks after my show, I actually had my breast augmentation.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I wasn't able to train so I trained for 2 weeks right after the show, which like, I actually have never done this approach, but I think I will after kind of having this like forced experiment on myself. And I know Jeff does this too, and a lot of bodybuilders do it. Like after their show, like I know we get like super energized. We're like, we want to train. We're like super motivated because we want to make
gym. I feel strong.
Improvements. Yeah, and you have food in your system, but like your body just went through the freaking like ringer. And I know a lot of like big time bodybuilders, they take 2 weeks off from the gym, or like a week at least, just to like let their body reset. And so for me, we went back. So for my peaking protocol, we linear load my carbs. So like the day before the show, I was at like 210 carb, 50 fat, and like 130 protein. And so we just started at those macros after the show. So that was like basically what we kind of considered my new maintenance. And then I trained, and then I went straight into surgery and then couldn't train for 8 weeks. Like I could walk and do some like body weight stuff like 4 weeks in, but I just like my biggest thing, and I think honestly the surgery was what kind of helped me nail my reverse, because I was like, I can't train, so the only thing I can nail is my nutrition. Like if I eat the world and don't do anything, I'm gonna blow up like a freaking balloon, because it was again that 4 week period where you're super like sensitive. That's where I was. And
so your stage weight, what was your stage weight?
My last stage weight was like 121.
And then like 2 weeks before your breast augmentation,
I was still like 120, 121.
Which is like
the same.
She's a unicorn.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often. But then as you were recovering from your surgery.
So when I weighed myself again, because I waited a while to weigh myself, because obviously like there's lots of inflammation that comes with surgery. And I was honestly like, I was kind of scared to weigh myself. Because obviously like you're seeing the lines go away still. I wasn't lifting, so I was like super soft. But then I stepped on the scale, like it was probably like 7 weeks after my surgery, and I was only like 3 pounds above stage weight.
Which also, like I said, she's a unicorn, because a lot of people, they won't be able to stay that close to stage weight.
It's because I nailed the nutrition.
And it
just shows.
Yeah, and so with that being said, because her food went up like pretty significantly.
Yeah.
But her body was actually able to adapt. And so don't be scared to, and actually not many people are scared to not eat after a show. Most people just eat. But yeah, don't be scared to like let your body just do its own thing. Like trust it that it's going to adapt to that more food,
because it wants more. Like it's fighting you at the end, and like when your body feels safe and happy, it's gonna reward you. And like this was why it was such like an interesting thing, because I had never taken that much time off. And when I say off, I don't mean off from the stage. I mean off from the gym. Like I cannot tell you the last time I took
2 months,
even like a full week off.
I know.
Like
you took 2 months off from the gym. That's crazy.
And then I actually started, so as far as food goes, like my food's not much high. My carbs are a little bit higher than that now, and we bumped my protein up now, but my food's not so much higher than it was. But when I got back into training, my weight, I'm sitting about like 10 pounds above my stage weight, 10 to 11 depending on the day. And honestly, a lot of that's just come from like, that's also inflammation from training, and my muscles are full. The carbs are sitting in my muscles, like, or like they're going to my muscles, and it's holding that like little bit of water weight that comes from carbs. And like, it's not a bad thing. Like I honestly like my physique right now better than my stage physique. Like I like having the curves again. I like feeling strong in the gym. Like,
and when you nail your reverse, that's the thing, you're actually able to hold your shape. Because even if you're 10 pounds heavier versus like getting 10 pounds from like binge eating, and you just look bloated and you lose your shape, where for you, you really have held on to
like I still love my shape. Like I can still see my obliques, like everything like that. And like we said, like I'm not sitting here trying to like toot my own horn and say you need to nail your reverse. I've gone through the ringer in my reverses. I've gained that uncomfortable 40 pounds.
But also, I just think, like, you're proof that if you reverse right, you're really setting yourself up for success for the next show. Because now, as she goes into her next prep in the next few weeks, her food's going to start way up here. Where, for me, unfortunately, I didn't nail my reverse, just being upfront with you guys. And I think maybe 25 pounds over stage weight was like the most I got after my show. So my last show was in August and it's April right now. And my food isn't as high right now as I wish it, could have been if I nailed my reverse. But it's because, again, I have to be at more of a deficit in order for my body to actually respond, you know? So you live and you learn, right?
Exactly.
But again, I am also glad that, I went through that experience of, learning the hard way again. Some of us just always learn the hard way. Because I know what to expect going into the next show. Yeah. So it's always different every year. And also, too, it's funny thinking about even like a couple months ago when I was still trying to like find my groove. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I told you, like, it was the first time that I weighed myself after a long time. I was like, I'm 137 pounds. Oh my gosh. And I couldn't believe how much I gained. And then it was like that all or nothing mentality that we have where I'm like, well, since I'm not on it, and you just kind of throw both hands up. And then before I knew it, it's like I just kept slowly gaining more weight. And so again, like she talked about in the beginning, it doesn't have to be when you're reversing. Like, don't think just because you messed up a little bit. There's a difference between missing the mark by a little and missing the mark by that much. And so you just got to hop back on the wagon and keep going, and don't beat yourself up for being off plan for a day. Because, you are off season, and you should be a little bit more gracious with yourself. But at the same time, remind yourself of your goals for the sake of your next prep, for the sake of the next season, so that you're in a better position than last.
And if like the weight does get to you and it's hard, like another way to judge progress is just getting your body composition tested here and there throughout your off season. Because the weight it's gonna go up, like she said. And like, if that's gonna mess with your mind, like, get your body composition tested, because then you can kind of see how your body's changing through that off season. Because it doesn't mean just because the weight's going up, you're gaining it all in fat.
Right.
So that could be another like way. But again, the biggest thing I can say is just make sure you're communicating with your coach. If you're hungry,
the plan.
but also communicate with them, because if they don't know that you're hungry, like that's a good sign. Like, and that you're not dieting anymore. You shouldn't be hungry.
You did tell your coach, like, I really am hungrier. I really know my body needs more, and
that's when we bumped up my protein. We bumped my protein and my carbs, because I was just like, I'm starving, and so you bumped my protein up and my carbs, so it basically allowed me to just add a whole nother meal into my day, and
your body just ate it up. Like,
exactly.
Your
like,
weight didn't change.
So communicate. And anything else to add?
I like how we said it was going to be a short video, and it's been like 20 minutes.
Well, there was one, I think maybe you already touched on it, the whole anabolic thing. Did you touch?
Yeah, just like how your body's in a sensitive state after the show. So reminder, the importance of like the 6 to 8 weeks after your show. That is a very unique time for your body. Like, how many times are you going to be coming out of such a big deficit post show, where your body's going to want to either put on a bunch of fat or soak in the food if you add it in appropriately. So so take your reverse seriously, but also, like, it's a time to enjoy yourself too, and find a little bit more balance in life. So all right, reverse dieting, everyone.
We will leave you guys at that, and we'll see you guys in the next video.